Welcome to a short preview of this Screencasts Online video tutorial. Following on from episode 746, I'll take a quick look at the minor updates in Pages, Numbers and Keynote announced since our last full tutorials. Firstly, Pages on iOS. Well, as well as the audio recording mentioned in tip video 746, Pages on iOS has had some specific improvements. For this first section, I'm going to mention some changes to the use of the pencil when using Pages on iOS. So this is specifically for iPad Pro, and to demonstrate this, I'm using my 12.9-inch iPad Pro. So if we go into Pages, now I demonstrated in the previous full tutorial, if I go into a blank document, there is a thing called Smart Annotations, which if we add some text onto the page, and then with the Apple Pencil, if I just touch the page, you'll see that we get this new pop-up. So I can select either Smart Annotation or Drawing. So we've got these new buttons now. And this is not just on the iPad Pro, this is on all devices. So if I go with Smart Annotation, okay, and then I can just use the pencil to drag around. Now, you might want to do this. You might want to use your pencil to navigate and scroll through the document. So if I just say done to this, you can now switch that on. There's a new option if you go into the Settings application. Scroll down to Pages and you will see there is an option here to select and scroll with Apple Pencil. So if I switch that on, we'll come out again. We'll go back into Pages. So if I just tap the page and then some additional text, I'll pop the keyboard out of the way. Now if I touch the screen with the Apple Pencil, you'll see it just moves the cursor. It doesn't actually bring up the Smart Annotations. So what you need to do now, so this is for any iPad. If you go into the three dots, go to Smart Annotation Beta, you can now get into the Smart Annotation or the Drawing option. That's just a quick preview of one of this week's Apple-related tutorials from Screencasts Online. Screencasts Online is your premium source of Apple-related video tutorials. All of our members get access to brand new, up-to-date tutorials each week, as well as unlimited access to our entire video archive full of Mac and iOS-related tutorials. You can stream and download all of our videos on your Mac, iPad and iPhone, and even your Apple TV using the members-only Screencasts Online Apple TV app. Membership also includes a complimentary subscription to the digital Screencasts Online monthly magazine, published each month and packed with videos, articles, reviews, as well as hints and tips covering all aspects of the Mac, iPad, iPhone, and all of the other fantastic Apple products. So, if you're ready to start getting the most out of your Apple devices, visit ScreenCastsOnline.com today and become a Screencasts Online member.